Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Liverpool. Hope you guys are all doing well. Before I jump into a review of the Chelsea-Liverpool game, I want to give a quick shout out to my YouTube channel. For those of you guys who aren't watching the videos on YouTube or listen to them on podcast or something, I did a watch-along for this game for the first time. I've tested a few watch-alongs in the past, and it's something I want to do a lot more of this season, and we'll be doing various Premier League games, Carabao Cup games, FA Cup games, possibly even some Champions League games. So please do drop me a subscription on YouTube so you're notified when I'm doing another one of those streams. But let's get into this game then. Chelsea-Liverpool, a fantastic performance from the Reds. The exact result we wanted and needed. Can't afford to slip behind any of the teams at the beginning of the season, because we saw what happened last season when the teams behind us didn't keep up with us at the beginning, and then they all kind of just faded away after that. So it was really, really important for us to get 3 points and keep that pressure on. And keep that pressure on City as well. We're already 6 points clear of them. Yes, they haven't played a game, but psychologically, that's a really big thing. And something that I'm sure will be playing on Pep's head, whilst they've got that game in hand. Before the game, obviously, there were a couple of questions around the team lineup. The main one being the centre-back change. Joe Gomez started against Leeds. But it was actually Fabinho who started in defence this time. There were some questions around why Joe Gomez was omitted, whether it was because of injury or whether he was left out. I think Klopp's come out and said he was injured, but don't really have any more details as of recording this of how severe that might be, or how long he might be out for, or anything like that. But obviously, going into that, there was a question of Fabinho. Klopp's talked about possibly buying a fourth centre-back, but Fabinho played amazingly well, and we'll talk a bit more about why I think he played so well and how impressed I was with him a little later on in this episode. But he was amazing, and the rest of the team was very much the kind of same standard team that we played against Leeds last week. So one thing that surprised me a bit in this game, particularly watching the first 15-20 minutes, was Chelsea's approach to pressing and pressure on us. Obviously, they weren't really pressing too high, in terms of getting on top of Van Dijk and Fabinho, and I can understand that. Most teams don't do that. But the player they were giving a lot of space to was Jordan Henderson. And obviously, Jordan Henderson was playing that kind of pivot position that he normally sometimes might not play with Fabinho there, but with Fabinho and centre-back, Jordan Henderson was playing that kind of quarterback position. And they were just letting him have the freedom of Stamford Bridge. No one was getting close to him. Kai Havertz, who actually was playing down the middle rather than Timo Werner, was getting nowhere near Jordan Henderson. He had all the time to play a short pass into the feet of the strikers or spray the ball out wide to one of the fullbacks. And it was just a very strange approach that I thought Frank Lampard took. In contrast, we were pressing exactly how we pressed. When it was a goal kick, we had our front three were pretty much lined up across the penalty box, with our midfield pushed up and our back four basically on the halfway line, knowing that Timo Werner, Kai Havertz, Mason Mount aren't going to spin in behind you and beat you for pace. And also, if the ball gets played up, Virgil van Dijk and Fabinho are going to beat that front three in the air every day. And so it was very, very easy for Virgil van Dijk and Fabinho to defend there. The couple of times that they did get behind us after a cute bit of play from Timo Werner, Fabinho did really, really well, standing up to Timo Werner, not going to ground. I think maybe Frank Lampard made the decision to play Timo Werner there, with obviously Trent pushing on, which would leave some space in behind for Timo Werner to operate in. But Fabinho just shut him down, absolutely shut him down, stayed on his feet when he needed to, stuck his foot in when he needed to, and just completely bossed Timo Werner for the whole game. And Timo Werner had a pretty poor game. We had the penalty, obviously, later on. We'll talk about that a bit later. But other than that, Timo Werner wasn't overly impressive in this game, I think. The only criticism I would have of us in the first half was that we didn't really take any shots at Kepa. We didn't really force too many saves from him. He did look a bit suspect the times he was called into action. There was one chance where the ball kind of just awkwardly ricocheted and he came out to get the ball. And Mo Salah nipped in front of him, but Christensen came and saved him that time. But Kepa was looking a bit shaky, and that's the one thing I was, I guess, disappointed about in the first half, is that we didn't force more saves from Kepa and probably force some mistakes from him. And obviously, towards the end of the first half, both teams were kind of thinking a bit about the second half, thinking about how we're going to continue in the second half. I think the first half was very much a kind of a sparring contest, but that all changed with the long straight ball from Jordan Henderson. Normally, when straight balls are played, you don't expect them to work because it's very easy as a defense to play against a straight ball. But what makes it very difficult to defend, is when you have a straight ball but you have a diagonal run. So normally you play a diagonal ball and you have a straight run, but this way around it was a straight ball with a diagonal run. Fabulous run from out to in from Sadio Mane. Kepa had committed. Not sure why he committed. Christensen, yes, he was on the wrong side of Mane, but Mane was still about a good 20 yards away from goal. And so it would have been still a lot of work for Sadio Mane to pick the ball up there, control it, and then beat Kepa. But when Kepa came steaming out, he kind of gave Christensen no choice but to take Sadio Mane out, because the pace at which Sadio Mane was running, he was definitely going to nick the ball past Kepa, and then obviously he would have had an open goal to score into. And after initially giving a yellow card, the referee came to his senses and gave him a red card. It had to be a red card. Mane was obviously going to get there and knock the ball past him. And yeah, that kind of changed everything going into the second half. And it changed both the team talks at halftime for both Frank Lampard and Jurgen Klopp. And so the pressure was all going to be on us in the second half to make sure we broke down that Chelsea team and scored. And that's exactly what we did. The front three linking up very, very well. Actually, the goal very much reminded me of a goal that Sadio Mane scored against Chelsea at Anfield a couple of seasons ago, where he peeled off at the far post, got in front of Azpilicueta, it was that time, and headed the ball in. This time he got in front of Reece James. And that's exactly what we needed at the beginning of the second half, because Chelsea were obviously with 10 men going to sit back, sit behind the ball. And so getting an early goal really, really helped that and kind of take some of the pressure off. But before I continue and go and talk about the second half, I want to talk a bit about Thiago, obviously who was announced only on Friday, and was all the paperwork was submitted in time to get him to play in this game, which was fantastic to see. I was super, super excited to see Thiago come on at half-time. Obviously, I've spent not too much time watching Thiago, but has spent some time watching him in the Champions League, more specifically, and he's been a quality player and an absolutely fantastic signing for us at Liverpool. I guess the one worrying thing about that, though, was that he came on for an injury for Henderson. As the time of recording this, it's hard to say. I don't have any information as to how serious that injury might be. They said it was a thigh strain, so it sounds like it's precautionary. But this was very much the game for Thiago to come onto. It was a great game for him to get used to the teammates, get used to the way Liverpool play. Probably wouldn't get him used to the pace of the Premier League, just because Chelsea were sitting back and they weren't kind of pressing as much as they would do if they had 11 men. But it was just a perfect game for him to come on to. 45 minutes, moved the ball really well, and honestly I was just really excited to see him on. Yeah, as I said, he's been such a great player for Bayern Munich over the past 7 seasons, and I'm so excited to see what he'll do for Liverpool this season. And after that first goal, it very much was kind of a one-way traffic. It was very much the Liverpool train coming to hit Chelsea, and they really didn't help themselves with the second goal. I'm not going to lie. Kepa, I'm not sure what he was doing. He took a little bit too long on the ball. I'm not sure why he was dilly-dallying so much. And Sadio Mane kind of just stuck his foot out, trapped the ball as Kepa tried to clear the ball inside his 6-yard box, and then it was an open goal for Sadio Mane to smash into. And I guess the question of from a Chelsea perspective is that the final nail in the coffin for his Chelsea career? Obviously, there's been these talks about them signing this goalkeeper from Rennes, I think it is. And Kepa, he wasn't really helping himself out, both with the first half decision to come out and then also the kicking the ball away to Sadio Mane, who scored. And the one thing I did like about this, particularly the second goal, was that even though we were 1-0 up, we were winning, we were playing against 10 men, all of the players, everyone was still very much up for it and pressing players, not giving Chelsea any time to kind of, take time on the ball and just pass out from the back. Last week I was a little bit critical of the Liverpool team and kind of saying that maybe I was seeing some signs of complacency in the team. And this performance completely blew that out of the water. The second half was incredibly professional. And I think the second goal was just a perfect example of that. He was Sadio Mane was pressing, but Firmino, Salah, Keita were all behind him as well, pressing. So it was great to see them. And then obviously Sadio Mane got the reward with his goal, and so I saw a very, very professional performance from Liverpool, particularly in the second half, which I was super glad to see, and kind of rested some of those fears I had that we may suffer from some complacency this season. But after that second goal, it was very much one-way traffic after that way. It was a training exercise, and as I talked about, though, a very, very professional one, which I think was really, really good. Obviously, we had that kind of one error, which was Thiago coming across Timo Werner in the box, which gave them the penalty. I think it was unnecessary. He came in with just a bit too much energy. It was a very, very light clip. I think if he didn't give it, I don't think VAR was going to give it. I didn't think it was clear and obvious, but when Timo Werner was running at the pace at which he was running, there's obviously always the chance that he could clip him. And then it was a great save from Alisson. Jorginho finally missing his first penalty in English football. But yeah, after that, it would have been very interesting to see, I think, if Chelsea had scored that goal, because I wonder whether they would have gambled and put men forward to see whether they got that goal to get the equaliser. But alas, Alisson saved the ball, Virgil van Dijk cleared it, and after that it was very much game over, and it was kind of just going through the motions there towards the end of the game before Liverpool walked away from Stamford Bridge with the 3 points. And as I talked about at the beginning, that takes us to third in the Premier League, behind, I think it's Everton and Arsenal, I want to say. It's very strange seeing us behind Everton, but I'm sure that won't be the case for too much longer. But it's been a perfect start to the season. Getting the win last week was huge and very, very important. And Chelsea was going to be a very tough test, obviously, given the players they bought. Obviously, not everyone was playing, but many people are expecting Chelsea to be up there. So beating your rivals away from home would be a huge, huge thing. So I want to end the episode, guys, like I always do, with a shout out to Klopp, and this is really around what we talked right at the top of the episode about Fabinho. There's been some rumours and reports that Klopp's in the market for a fourth centre-back to support Virgil van Dijk, Gomez and Matip, and I don't think he needs to. I think he's got a ready-made centre-back there in Fabinho who can play in midfield as well. And he's shown he can be mature in that position and fantastic, both defensively and attacking as well. And he showed just today, again, how good he can be against a top-quality striker like Timo Werner. So we heard Klopp. I think you can call off that search for another defender, and Fabinho will do as our fourth centre-back. But that's it for this episode, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel if you're not already, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. See you guys.